Hare Krishna. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. We'll begin by chanting Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva, Jaya Guru Deva. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajakachara Ashtotara Sata. His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshnaya Bhutale Shimate Radhana. Hare Krishna. Today we'll, actually before we begin, we'll just chant Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Before I begin, I seek the blessings of all the assembled devotees so that I may speak something for my own purification. So we are continuing to read from the 9th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 20, entitled The Dynasty of Puru. We will begin with text number 34 and go on until the end of the chapter. Would anyone like to read text 34?
Text 34. O King Parikshit, Maharaj Bharat had 3 pleasing wives who were daughters of King of Vidarbha. When all 3 of them bore children who did not resemble the king, these wives thought he would consider them unfaithful queens and reject them, and therefore they killed their own sons.
Isn't that shocking?
It's shocking. The king, his attempt for progeny frustrated in this way, performed a sacrifice named Marut Stoma to get a son. The demigods, known as the Maruts, being fully satisfied with him, then presented him with a son named Bhardvaj.
When the demigod named Brahaspati was attracted by his brother's wife Mamara, who at that time was pregnant, he desired to have sexual relations with her. The son within her womb forbade this, but Brahaspati cursed him and forcibly discharged semen into the womb of Mamata.
Mamata very much feared being forsaken by her husband for giving birth to an illegitimate son, and therefore she considered giving up the child. But then the demigods solved the problem by enunciating a name for the child.
Brihaspati said to Mamata,
on.
"You foolish woman, although this child was born from the wife of one man, through the semen discharged by another, you should maintain him." Upon hearing this, Mamata replied, "O Brihaspati."
Should I read it? I'll reread text 38. Brahaspati said to Mamata, "You foolish woman, although this child was born from the wife of one man through the semen discharged by another, you should maintain him." Upon hearing this, Mamata replied, "O Brihaspati, you maintain him." After speaking in this way, Brihaspati and Mamata both left. Thus the child was known as Bharadwaj. The last text. Although encouraged by the demigods to maintain the child, Mamata considered him useless because of his illicit birth, and therefore she left him. Consequently, the demigods known as the Maruts maintained the child, and when Maharaj Bharat was disappointed for want of a child, this child was given to him as his son. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this translation 34 I will read again. O King Parikshit, Maharaj Bharat had 3 pleasing wives who were daughters of the king of Vidarbha. When all 3 of them bore children who did not resemble the king, these wives thought that he would consider them unfaithful queens and reject them, and therefore they killed their own sons. So, considering that we are in Dwapar Yuga, when I read this translation, it was quite shocking for a mother to kill her own child. And also, it's very interesting, whenever something is not clear, Srila Prabhupada clarifies in his Bhaktivedanta purports. But this verse also does not have a purport. So, I was just thinking, if this was actually a will of providence, because we know the son that was born, Bharadwaj Muni, he is such an exalted sage. He is actually one of the 7 Saptarishis. And it is described how Bharadwaj Muni, he is actually one of the, we have the Narada Pancharatra Vidhi, which actually discusses about the practical devotional service. Even what we follow in our ISKCON temples is Narada Pancharatrika Vidhi, And Bharadwaj Muni was one of the sages who actually authored that. Of course, the whole Narada Pancharatra Riddhi was written by Narada Muni, but Bharadwaj Muni is one who thought it. So it is not, so the child that was born is not an ordinary personality, it's a very great personality. Also, before we get into the other verses, I wanted to read a little bit about the glories of Bharadwaj Muni, because he is such a great personality. So this is, if anyone else want to refer later, this is from ISKCON Mayapur's website. There is one section called Bharadwaj Til. So I will read from there. Leaving behind Bilva Paksha, Nityananda Prabhu and the devotees went up to Bharadwaj Til village. Lord Nityananda explained, after seeing Ganga Sagar, Bharadwaj Muni came to this place. The great Muni stayed here for some days and worshipped Lord Gaurachandra. Satisfied by the worship, Lord Gaurachandra mercifully appeared before the Muni and said to him, your desire will be fulfilled. When I advent, you will see me. After speaking these words, the Lord disappeared and Bharadwaj Muni fainted in great ecstasy. After staying on this hill for some days, the Muni departed to see the other Tirthas. The common people call this place Barudhanga. The scriptures consider this a major Tirtha. So this is from Sri Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, chapter 16. The 5 rishis, Sandila, Upaghayana, Maunanjayana, Kaushika and Bharadwaj were previously each instructed for 1 day and 1 night by Lord Narayan. Headed by Narada, they wrote the Pancharatra here to teach the people about practical devotional service. There also one can see Bharadwaj Tila, where the great Bharadwaj Muni attained Prema by worshipping Gauranga. After attaining Gaura Prema, he wrote sutras that instilled devotional service in many materialistic people. So just to set a little bit background about Bharadwaj Muni. So he is such a great personality. So we'll continue with text 35. The king, his attempt for progeny frustrated in this way, performed a sacrifice named Marutstoma to get a son. The demigods, known as the Maruts, being fully satisfied with him, then presented him a son called Bharadwaj. So the next couple of verses actually speak like how Bharadwaj Muni was born, which we already read. But I think we'll focus on purport of text 36. So we'll, I think, chant 36, text number 36. Please repeat. Antarvatnyam Brahatar Patnyam Maitunya Brahaspatihi Pravritto Varito Garbam Saptva Viryam Upashtijat Antarvatnyam Brahatar Patnyam Maitunyaya Brahaspatihi Pravritto Varito Garbam Saptva Viryam Upashtijat Antarvatnyam Brahat Patnyam Maitunyaya Brahaspatihi Pravritto Varito Garbam Saptva Viryam Upashtijat. Would anyone like to chant? Antarvatnyam Brahatar Patyam Maitunyaya Brahaspatihi Pravrito Varito Garbam Saptva Viryam Upashrijat Antarvatnyam Braturpatnyam Maitunyaya Brahaspatim Paravrito Varito Garbam Brahaspatihi Pravrito Varito Garbhan Sapta Viryam Upashrijat. Anyone else like to try, or we can continue? Antarvatnyam Vratrarpatnyam Maitunya Brahaspatihi Saptva Viryam Saptva Viryam Upashrijat. We'll do word for word. Antavatnyam, pregnant. Bratur Patnyam, with the brother's wife. Maitunnaya, desiring sexual enjoyment. Brahaspatihi, the demigod named Brahaspati. Pravrittaha, so inclined. Varitaha, when forbidden to do so. Garbham, the son within the abdomen. Saptva, by cursing. Viryam, semen. Upashrijat, discharged. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. When the demigod named Brahaspati was attracted by his brother's wife Mamata, who at that time was pregnant, he desired to have sexual relations with her. The son within her womb forbid this, but Brahaspati cursed him and forcibly discharged semen into the womb of Mamata. Purport. The sex impulse is so strong in this material world that even Brahaspati, who is supposed to be the priest of the demigods and a very learned scholar, wanted to have a sexual relationship with his brother's pregnant wife. This can happen even in the society of the higher demigods. So what to speak of human society? The sex impulse is so strong that it can agitate even a learned personality like Brahaspati. So, I was actually listening to one class by His Holiness Govinda Maharaj, and Maharaj was mentioning like more than 10 references in the Srimad Bhagavatam, or there probably even more, where this lust, it has caused trouble to so many personalities. Like if we go to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, Text 41, if we can just pull that up. Yes, Mataji. Would anyone like to read the translation? Or I can read if... Okay.
A living entity who, as a result of attachment to a woman in his previous life, has been endowed with the form of a woman, foolishly looks upon Maya in the form of a man, her husband, as the bestower of wealth, progeny, house, and other material assets.
So this is one reference Maharaj was mentioning, like how this attraction between male and female is so strong and it can only cause trouble. So the last 5 sentences in this purport, Srila Prabhupada says, as it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, anyone who seriously takes to Krishna consciousness, whether in the lowest species of life, or a woman, or a less intelligent class, such as a mercantile or laborer class, will go back home, back to Godhead, and reach the abode of Krishna. A man should not be attached to a woman, nor should a woman be attached to a man. Both man and woman should be attached to the service of the Lord. Then there is possibility of liberation from material entanglement for both of them. So like this is actually the formula, like Srila Prabhupada stresses. Although there is a strong attraction, the only hope is if we put Krishna in the center of our life. then we can transcend this strong attraction of Maya. Then in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 6, texts 11 and 13. I will just read this for the interest of time. Prahlad Maharaj is actually, he's preaching to his demoniac classmates. There Prahlad Maharaj says, how can a person who is most affectionate to his family, the core of his heart being always filled with their pictures, give up their association? Specifically, a wife is always very kind and sympathetic and always pleases her husband in a solitary place. Who could give up the association of such a dear and affectionate wife? Small children talk in broken language, very pleasing to hear, and their affectionate father always thinks of their sweet words. How could he give up their association? One's elderly parents and one's sons and daughters are also very dear. A daughter is especially dear to her father, and while living at her husband's house, she is always in his mind. Who could give up that association? Aside from this, in household affairs, there are many decorated items of household furniture, and there are also animals and servants. Who could give up such comforts? The attached householder is like a silkworm who weaves a cocoon in which it becomes imprisoned, unable to get out, simply for the satisfaction of two important senses, the genitals and the tongue. One is bound by material conditions. How can one escape? Again, here also, in the last part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada stresses how thus the household becomes graham andakupam, a dark well into which the man has fallen. For such a man to get out is extremely difficult unless he is helped by a strong person, the spiritual master, who helps the fallen person with a strong rope of spiritual instructions. A fallen person should take advantage of this rope, and then the spiritual master or the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna will take him out of the dark well. So like here Srila Prabhupada, he is giving us the formula, like how this, the only way we can actually get out of this material conditioning, it is only by when we take shelter of Krishna consciousness, take shelter of the spiritual master. And then when we actually do that, what happens is Krishna actually inspires us to pray to him. Like in and when Prahlad Maharaj was asked for any benediction, what did he pray? He just prayed, "O my Lord, best of the givers of benediction, if you at all want to bestow a desirable benediction upon me, then I pray from your Lordship that within the core of my heart there be no material desires." So we can only overcome Maya's influence like if we pray in this humble mood and then we take shelter of the holy name. And we can only overcome this like if we chant in a humble state of mind. And Narottam Das Thakur he actually has written this really wonderful book called the Shri Prema Bhakti Chandrika, and there it is mentioned that it is said that the gist of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are mentioned in this book. And Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he would actually read this book. This is the only book that he would carry with him. And even Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he would actually instruct his followers to every day read from this book. So if we actually do that, then we can actually get over these 5 enemies of lust, anger, greed, ignorance, pride, and so on. And in that book, there's a copy of it available on ISKCON Desiratory. So it is mentioned there that we can engage each of these anarthas in Krishna's service. For example, it was said lust is actually our desire to enjoy, right? So it is mentioned that how we should become very enthusiastic to serve Krishna. We pick up one service or more services, and then we are always, thinking, how can I serve? How can I serve? And then if we go to anger, like it said that anger is one thing that can destroy one's life. Because in the spur of anger, this is called Shri Prema Bhakti Chandrika. And then we have the famous example of how, Hanumanji, he used his anger to destroy Ravana. It is said that Hanumanji's eyes were so red that when he went to Lanka, anything he saw appeared red to him. And as a result, he destroyed whole of Lanka even before Lord Ram's army was there to fight with Ravana. Then there is the anartha of greed. We should be, if we just become greedy from a material point of view, then we are only causing more harm to us. We are just accumulating big position or big bank balance, which at the end of life is anyways going to be taken away. But it is said that if we become greedy for sadhu sangha, for the association of devotees, for hearing Krishna Katha, then we can dovetail our greed in that way. Then the next anartha is illusion. It is said that we should cry why we cannot serve Krishna nicely when we become illusioned. And then the last one is envy. So a devotee, it is said that he is never envious of anyone. So this is one anartha that we cannot actually dovetail into Krishna consciousness, because it is said that was the main reason why we fell from the spiritual world. Would anyone like to comment on this verse before we proceed? Mataji has a comment.
Just on your last comment, Prabhuji, that envy cannot be doubted. So I was just thinking, like, envy is because somebody has something good. That's why that envy comes, right? So I was just wondering if we can dovetail that when we are thinking that because all the opulence, all good qualities comes from Krishna. So maybe when we feel envious, we can think, oh, that quality is actually quality of Krishna. And also that person has that quality because that person has received the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So probably you think maybe we can dovetail that way.
Yeah, would anyone like to comment on the envy part? Yeah, so Mother Tulsi Saki was mentioning that we can dovetail envy by glorifying devotees and saying that all good qualities in a person. So just to paraphrase, you're saying envy can be overcome by glorifying devotees. That's what Mother Nandini is saying. Sorry, we are. So rather than being envious, we want to think of others' welfare by engaging in transcendental devotional service. Thank you, Mother Nandini. Hare Krishna. So we'll read text 37. Mamata very much feared being forsaken by her husband for giving birth to an illegitimate son, and therefore she considered giving up the child. But then the demigods solved the problem by enunciating a name for the child. There's a purport here, I'll just read the purport. According to Vedic scripture, whenever a child is born, there are some ceremonies known as Jatakarma and Namakarna, in which learned Brahmanas immediately after the birth of the child make a horoscope according to astrological calculations. But the child to which Mamata gave birth was begotten by Brihaspati irreligiously. For although Mamata was the wife of Uttaya, Brihaspati made her pregnant by force. Therefore, Brihaspati became Bharata. According to Vedic culture, therefore Brihaspati became Bharata. According to Vedic culture, a wife is considered the property of her husband, and a son born by illicit sex is called Dvija. The common word still current in Hindu society for such a son is Dogla, which refers to a son not begotten by the husband of his mother. In such a situation, it is difficult to give the child a name according to proper regulative principles. Mamata therefore was perplexed, but the demigods gave the child the appropriate name Bharadvaj, which indicated that the child born illegitimately should be maintained by both Mamata and Brihaspati. Would anyone like to say anything about this purport? So it looks
So-
like the first child was killed, or
Yes. So this child is not that child.
No, it's not.
That child
It's a separate child.
Yeah, we don't know what the curse is, but it sounds like the curse did something of one way or another that the child wasn't born. So it sounds like it was aborted in some way.
adharmic, and one of them is having sex with your brother's wife, isn't it? What to speak of if she's pregnant. So this was an abominable thing.
He said it was a lesson for us to understand that there was a great personality that was born.
Yeah. So I was thinking, firstly, the lesson for me, that's what I would like to share. Lesson number one, that lust is so powerful, as mentioned in the purport, one of the purports also, that even in the realm of demigods, these things happen, number one, but not so very often like we are so much predominantly into in this particular realm, right? So down from the bottommost layer of the planets, lower planetary system, to the upper planetary system, lust is prominent. That is number one. Lesson number two, Krishna uses most qualified souls, right, to set an example for others to follow. So Brahaspati is not an ordinary person. Neither is Mamata or the child in the womb. They are all great souls. They have heaps and heaps of pious credits. Then if you can correlate that to Apiche Suduracharo, the verse mentioned by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. So accidentally these things may happen, but that doesn't deter anybody from continuing to take shelter of Krishna. So we see Brahaspati, he might have fallen for accidentally for a moment, but then he remains like Indra. He happened to offend none other than Brajavasis, can you imagine? But still, he continued. And in one of the purports, I think it is mentioned, or I heard, I'm sorry, I can't recollect. I heard in one of the classes of Radhanath Maharaj, he said, these great souls, they're used as an example to teach us the lessons. And they're like black spots on the moon. You know, those who are intelligent, they neglect those black spots and they continue to glorify the beauty of the moon. So Indra is pardoned, right? So because they have greater service to render, greater responsibility to the humanity. That is yet another lesson that I derive from here. It is so interesting, so interesting.
I was in the same mood as Gokulananda Prabhu, thinking about how this situation came about, and I was thinking about this, is that Srimad Bhagavatam, every psychological situation is within Bhagavatam, and we can actually look at it and actually see how it can practically be used in our life. And I was thinking this is a great lesson for our society, to understand that somebody like Brihaspati, who's the guru of the demigods, had this difficulty. And in the past in our society, there's been initiating spiritual masters that have had some difficulties. Matter of fact, Srila Prabhupada says in one of his purports, I can't remember where it was, but this is going to happen. People are going to fall down. And he's like saying, it's a purport to our sannyasis, like, look, I'm putting you in a difficult situation. This is Kali Yuga, but keep moving forward. You can do it. And so sometimes we see initiating spiritual masters or devotees that are very much doing a lot of devotional service, that they make a mistake. They get attracted by Maya in some way, shape, or form, and then all of a sudden they're pretty much excommunicated from the society. You no longer can be a guru to your disciples, this, and this. Yet we have examples of these things that are being done in Srimad Bhagavatam, and we should think about them very nicely and decide how we're going to help people continue devotional service. For instance, I'll give you an example. When I first joined ISKCON, I joined in Portland, Oregon, and there was a temple with about 15 young 20-year-old couples. It was an amazing temple. The energy was amazing. Matter of fact, sannyasis and gurus would come and they would say, this reminds us of the old times. But Prita Prabhu fell down because of, Srila Prabhupada says, is artificial sexual relationships, and he was basically excommunicated from the situation, wasn't allowed to talk to his disciples and stuff, and the whole temple fell down. And a lot of those people no longer are part of ISKCON. And I'm not trying to blame anybody. I'm just thinking we should look through these situations and understand that great personalities like Brihaspati are still moving forward and serving the demigods very nicely. Can we work in this way that we help our, people that are having troubles in this way to maintain or to move forward? And that was my thought.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, wonderful points. And the point about Brihaspati, I was also thinking, we were just reading about Shukracharya, who was the priest of the demons, and we were seeing so many troubles. So in our mind, I was thinking that, okay, Brihaspati is much better because, he's not getting into trouble. And sure enough, we can see now that Brihaspati also has some difficulty. So I think when we see lessons learned, we really cannot judge devotees based on who they are serving and what their title or position is. They are all very exalted and they all go through these difficulties in life. And then the other point also I was thinking is that the children that are coming, they came so many instances of children coming in very difficult circumstances, but being very exalted children. And like the demigods are saying, telling Mamata, take care of this child. And then even in the other instance, the three queens didn't take care of the children because they looked different. There's no purport, so we really don't know what the whole story is. But I think what I'm getting from here is that these children, no matter how they come, we have to take care of them and raise them to the best of our abilities, because they are all very special souls, no matter how they come.
I just remembered there is an extremely important lesson here for the practicing devotees. In the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, the commentary to the verse Apiche Sudara, there is accidental fall down. Interestingly, he mentions the very immediate next verse says Shipram bhavati dharmadma shashvat shantim nigacchati. So the soul becomes immediately righteous. Now who? The fallen soul? No, Krishna has already said that is the accidental fall down. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, those who do not think that such an accidentally fallen soul is a fallen soul. So that person or those persons who look at that person as not fallen immediately becomes elevated. So this is a very, very important point for the practicing devotees. We see, because conditioned mind, conditioned soul always tend to, okay, look at him. The Guru couldn't do that. So I take it as a discount or liberty, concession to do so. And another point that came to my mind was, in first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is advocating the argument that there will be Varna Sankar if, these practices, traditions and blah, blah, blah stopped. So the point is, whenever there is illicit connection, there is Varna Sankar, unwanted progeny. But here, as Mother Tulsi Saki said, the progeny here is not unwanted. Who is Bharadwaja? There is a Gotra, descendants starting from that great soul. So we need to understand these things are not ordinary and they are not like common, right? These are uncommon incidents happen with those who are made an instrument by the Supreme Lord. So that probably we need to understand.
Also, it is said that for all these names, they are mentioned in the Bhagavatam. So, all these devotees, they are not ordinary personalities. Although they had an accidental fall down, still they are very glorious. And that was one thing that Srila Prabhupada, he always emphasized, that his followers, there's one thing that he was not happy about, was we were not sufficiently afraid of Maya Devi. And he would always, when devotees asked Srila Prabhupada, what were you praying to the deities? Srila Prabhupada once mentioned that, I'm praying that I will never fall victim to Maya. So if we can think that it's out of humility, but Srila Prabhupada is saying this, but still at the same time, I think it's a lesson for all of us to be very, very careful and be always on guard. Thank you so much to everyone for sharing all the nice points. I'm sorry I could not contribute much, but I'm just trying to speak for my own purification and as a service. So, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanandi.